You're most likely eating some common foods every day the wrong way. You might even be causing more harm than good. So in this video, I'm going to show you the top 10 common foods you've been eating wrong this entire time. And make sure to stick around until the end because some of the foods I'm about to reveal might shock you. The first common food you're eating/drinking wrong is milk. Milk has been a staple food for humans since the beginning of time. But not all milk are created equal. The problem with your typical store-bought milk is that it's pasteurized. There's a long story why pasteurization became the norm for milk, but pasteurizing means heating milk at a very high temperature to kill off potential pathogens from raw, unprocessed milk. The problem with pasteurization is it also kills all the beneficial bacteria and enzymes found in milk, like lactase. It helps you digest milk. So pasteurization is basically like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Because if you think about it, drinking milk raw is how we've always consumed it. Baby cows drink milk raw. Human babies drink raw milk from their mom. It's never pasteurized. It always contains these beneficial bacteria and enzymes. Now, there's two ways to consume milk properly. Try to find raw milk in your area. You can use a site like getrawmilk.com. You can also do a quick Google search and get to know your local dairy farmer. Raw milk is nutritionally superior compared to pasteurized milk. Like, it's not even close. Most people that are lactose intolerant can actually drink raw milk and eat raw cheese no problem. If you look at the Maasai in Africa, a pastoralist tribe, they're tall, muscular, and have perfect teeth. What's interesting is their traditional diet consists almost entirely of raw milk, meat, and blood. In spite of a high-fat, high-cholesterol diet, the Maasai have low blood pressure, their overall cholesterol levels are low, and they have low rates of coronary artery diseases like atherosclerosis. Imagine that. If you don't have access to raw milk, try to find A2 milk at the grocery store. According to this study, A2 milk presents fewer intolerance symptoms. You can also look for low-temperature pasteurized milk. Now, here's a very important concept you need to understand before I reveal the next few common foods you're eating wrong because they all fall in this umbrella. Humans are what's called opportunistic omnivores. We consume animals preferably and turn to plants as a fallback food. Animals defend themselves against predators by running away. They also have claws and teeth to fight back. Plants, on the other hand, are rooted to the ground. They can't run away. So they have to launch chemical warfare against predators in order to defend themselves. So plants develop something called anti-nutrients in the form of lectins, phytates, oxalates, goitrogens, phytoestrogens, and tannins, each anti-nutrient affecting the human body in a different way. This is also where bio-individuality comes into play. Botanically speaking, the parts of the plant with the highest concentration of anti-nutrients are in the leaves, roots, stems, and seeds. Especially the seeds because that's the plant's baby. Don't believe me? According to the FDA, eating as few as 4 to 5 uncooked kidney beans, which is a seed, can cause severe nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea in 1 to 3 hours after ingestion. Ricin poisoning can also kill you. So let's talk about how to consume common foods with these anti-nutrients properly. Let's start with the most highly defended part of the plant, seeds. You can find almost all the anti-nutrients I just mentioned in it. Again, it makes sense that it's the most highly defended part of the plant because it's the plant's baby. Seeds can be subdivided into nuts, seeds, grains, and legumes. The biggest problem with nuts and seeds specifically is how we consume them. We usually think of them as a healthy snack. Think about snacking on almonds and pumpkin seeds. But if you think about it from an evolutionary consistent perspective, the amount of work you'd have to put in to acquire a couple of nuts out in nature is a lot, let alone getting it roasted. But people consume roasted nuts and seeds by the handful, and they're extremely easy to overeat. So you're just getting an evolutionary inconsistent amount of anti-nutrients. Not to mention, they're also extremely calorie dense. That's quite the double whammy. In case you're wondering, the best way to consume nuts to eliminate as much anti-nutrients as possible is to soak and dehydrate them. Most people don't do that. You also want to keep your serving size to half an ounce at most per day. That's about 14 grams or 11 to 12 almonds. That's it. So you actually want to treat nuts and seeds as a garnish and not as a snack. If you're going to consume beans and quinoa, which are both seeds, by the way, you want to make sure you pressure cook them to eliminate most of the anti-nutrients. When it comes to grains like bread, the best way to consume it is fermented. And that's the next common food people are eating wrong. There's three main problems with eating your typical store-bought bread, and it doesn't matter if it's white or whole wheat. First, you're getting a pesticide-laden, hybridized, and most likely GMO processed grain. Second, bread is an ultra-processed, insulinogenic food full of preservatives and emulsifiers, devoid of any nutrient. Third, you're getting a nasty lectin found in wheat called gluten. A lot of people either have an allergy to gluten or they have gluten intolerance. It's because humans can't digest gluten properly. Research shows that gluten causes intestinal permeability, also known as leaky gut, in all people. Leaky gut is associated with autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's, lupus, type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, as well as chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, arthritis, allergies, asthma, acne, obesity, and even mental illness. Because leaky gut also causes leaky brain. If you're looking for bread alternatives, Julian Bakery and Bread Seriously makes high-quality grain, lectin, and gluten-free bread. You can also make your own bread using coconut flour. Or you can look for an old-school bakery that makes sourdough bread the slow and traditional way. Traditional sourdough bread should only have 3 ingredients: flour, water, and salt, fermented using lactic acid bacteria and wild yeast. That, by the way, explains the Italian and French paradox where they eat bread and still have low rates of obesity. Still talking about seeds, the next common food you're eating wrong is rice. Dietitians and nutritionists con people to eat brown rice and whole grain bread because it contains fiber, along with a slightly lower glycemic index compared to white rice. The problem is, brown rice still has the germ and the bran attached to it. And that's also where you're gonna find a nasty anti-nutrient called phytic acid. Phytic acid limits the absorption of vitamins and minerals, causing adverse health effects and nutrient deficiency in the long run. It chelates minerals. The bigger problem with brown rice is it also contains inorganic arsenic, which is a toxin known to potentially cause liver, lung, kidney, and bladder cancer. And you don't have to worry about any of those things when you eat white rice, because the germ and the bran get taken out during processing. That's why white rice is easier to digest compared to brown rice. I mean, Asians have been perfecting eating white rice for centuries. When it comes to root vegetables like yams and potatoes, make sure you're peeling off the skin. That's where the anti-nutrients are. The same concept applies to nightshades like tomatoes. You want to make sure to take out the seeds as well. Same goes for bell peppers and eggplant. Next, let's talk about an insidious common food you're eating wrong: leafy greens. Everyone considers a spinach salad to be healthy. If you compare it to Doritos, sure. But beyond that, there's absolutely nothing magical about leafy greens, especially spinach, because leafy greens are high in anti-nutrients, especially a nasty anti-nutrient called oxalate. If you've ever had kidney stones, oxalates should sound familiar, because it's the stuff that causes it. If you want to keep eating leafy greens, make sure to cook it, or opt for low oxalate greens like arugula and romaine lettuce. But generally speaking, the best way to eliminate as much anti-nutrients as possible is to cook your vegetables. Never eat them raw. Still sticking with plants, the next common food you're eating wrong is fruit. Botanically speaking, fruit is the part of the plant with the lowest toxicity. It makes sense. Plants actually want animals to eat fruit to propagate the species. That's why ripe fruit is brightly colored and sweet to entice animals to find it and eat it. Having said that, not all fruit and vegetables are created equal. If you're just eating non-organic fruit and vegetables, you're getting a heavy dose of pesticides in your body. Pesticide, in case you didn't know, is a known obesogen because of how it negatively impacts gut health. I mean, people have to wear special protective suits when they spray pesticides in farms. That should automatically make you think. There was a recent study that showed glyphosate, a cancer-causing herbicide, was found in 80% of urine samples from kids and adults in the US. Now, according to EWG.org's Dirty Dozen list, these 12 fruits and vegetables contain the highest levels of pesticide residue, herbicides, and fungicides. If you can't buy them certified organic, or if organic is too expensive, try to avoid them altogether and choose alternatives from the Clean 15 list. They have the lowest amount of pesticide residues. The next common food you're eating wrong is low-fat version of food. I'm talking about skim milk, low-fat yogurt, low-fat sour cream, low-fat cheese, low-fat ice cream, low-fat mayo, low-fat peanut butter, low-fat dressing, and the likes. There is a world of difference between a whole food that's naturally low in fat like broccoli and bananas versus something that normally contains fat but then is ultra-processed to become low-fat or fat-free. Because in order for the low-fat version to taste good, food manufacturers have to add sugar, emulsifiers, stabilizers, fat replacers, and artificial flavors. Like I mentioned earlier, raw cheese is one of the healthiest foods on the planet. It only has a couple of ingredients. It's also delicious. And then it gets turned into an ultra-processed frankenfood, all in the name of making it low-fat. Remember the Maasai eating only raw milk, meat, and blood and having perfect health? They're definitely not drinking skim milk. The next common food you're eating wrong is cooking oil. There's a very good chance you're cooking with this cheap, nasty stuff. Grocery stores usually have a dedicated aisle for these cheap oils. The problem is they're an extremely insidious health destroyer. Because these cheap oils are very unstable, they're full of additives and oxidize very easily because they're extremely processed at high temperatures, which then causes absolute metabolic chaos to your body when you use them for cooking. And they've been shown to contribute to detrimental health conditions like asthma, autoimmune disease, mental health problems, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and even cancer. If you're gonna take one thing away from this video, this might be it. Avoid these highly inflammatory cheap oils at all costs. Avoid cooking with them, and you wanna avoid foods that contain them. You can find them in almost all condiments like mayo, as well as salad dressings, and basically in all ultra-processed food. This is also why you should never eat deep-fried fast food products like French fries, fried chicken, and chicken nuggets, because 99% of all restaurants use the same rancid oil that's always kept at a high temperature and is often not changed for days. According to this study, repeatedly heated cooking oils, or RCO, can generate varieties of compounds, including polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, some of which have been reported as carcinogenic. The large consumption of RCO has been associated with a number of malignancies, including lung, colorectal, breast, and prostate cancers. The best oils to cook with are natural high heat stable fats like avocado oil, coconut oil, tallow, and butter. Now, if you enjoyed this video, then you don't want to ignore this one. I'll see you there.